Okay, now that we've gone through a factoring refresher, we're going to apply that today with multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Okay, so what is a rational expression? Well, a rational expression is a ratio of two polynomials. A ratio is just a fraction. So you have here a couple of examples, a polynomial on the top and a polynomial on the bottom. Sometimes they're simple. And sometimes they're a little bit more complicated, but either way, it's really just a fraction made up of polynomials. So you may remember one of the ways that we can simplify fractions is like 9/24. I know that both the top and the bottom have a common factor of 3 in there. So those 3's cancel out, and then I'm left with, okay, 3/8. So that we're going to do something similar when we have polynomials. We're going to factor everything that we can first. Then we're going to look for monomials that we can simplify using our exponent rules. And then any common binomial factors will eliminate. We're going to try this. Okay, so simplify. So I want to simplify the fractions if I can, and my exponent rules is as well. So I know that x to the 6th divided by x to the 2nd, I subtract. So I would have, well, that would give me x to the 4th. I would have 4 x's on the top. Now 20 over 14, they both have a common factor of 2. So this would reduce to 10/7. Now, if you're not great with reducing fractions, feel free to also use your graphing calculator to reduce fractions. But you'll notice I have the x to the 4th on the top. That's because there's more x's up top than there on the bottom. If there were more on the bottom, you would put it down here. Okay. When you have binomials or polynomials, anything that's more than one term, you want to look for greatest common factors and see if you can factor anything. So this one on the top, I see a common factor of 6. I'm going to take that out. And then you'll notice on the bottom, I have that same common factor of x minus 6. Well, x minus 6 divided by x minus 6, those cancel. So this actually ends up reducing simply to 6. And that's how we can simplify a rational expression. Okay, so the top on this one, y plus 8, is already simplified. The bottom, I may be able to factor. So we're going to try two numbers. Notice these are y's, not x's, so use y's. Let's see. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 48, but add up to be 2 would be positive 8 and negative 6. Okay. And then does anything cancel? Yeah, these cancel out. Now, I don't have anything on the top, but y plus 8 plus y, or divided by y plus 8 is 1. I need that placeholder on the top because 1 over y minus 6 is very different than y minus 6 over 1. So make sure that you don't forget that. Okay. There we go. We just simplified some expressions. Here's a little bit harder. So again, I want to look for a GCF first. In the top, I see a 2 that I can take out. And then I would have r squared minus 1r minus 20. On the bottom, there you have an 8 in common. So that would give me this. Okay, so the top, let's factor that. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 20 but add up to be negative 1 would be r minus 5 and r plus 4. On the bottom, I would still have this. Okay, now I'm going to cancel. Oops, I wrote r plus 8 when that should have been a 4, right? Okay, now these can cancel, And then I also want to take out the factor of 2 and 8. Well, that would reduce to 1/4. So I have a 1 on the top. And a 4 on the bottom. You don't really need the 1 up top. You could leave it there if you want, but most people would probably get rid of that and just leave it. I don't know why I wrote R there. This should be a 4. Or, I'm sorry, it should be a 5. That's what I have left. So, there we go. That's the reduced version of that. It'll be R minus 5 over 4. Okay, let's see. GCF, once again, is a 2 on top. I think that was supposed to be an N, so this should be 4N plus 1. And on the bottom, this would be 2N squared minus 1. Okay, let's see. The top, I might factor this off to the side. So we have, write this without the 3 in front. So 3 times 1 is 3. Factor that. Put the 3 underneath. Reduce. This would give us N plus 1. And that would be 1/3 still. So this would be 3N plus 1. And this would be N plus 1. Okay. So this ends up being 2 times N plus 1 times 3N plus 1 all over. Now, this is difference of 2 squares. This would be N plus 1 and minus 1. Okay, so I see 2 cancels. N plus 1 cancels. So what I'm left with is 3N plus 1 over N minus 1. Done. Okay, so that's simplifying. Let's talk about multiplying and dividing. Multiplying rational expressions, if there's monomials only, you're simply going to just multiply them together and then simplify. If there are binomials and trinomials, you're going to factor everything you can first, then simplify, sort of like what we just did. Okay, so this says multiply everything together. So I'm going to multiply across the top, 60. 6 times 10 is 60. X to the second, x to the third is x to the fifth. Y to the third, y to the fourth is y to the seventh. On the bottom, 2 times 18 is 36. And then I don't see any other x's besides that first x squared. Y squared and y to the squared again is y to the fourth. So, you want to find the biggest number that goes into both 60 and 36. Again, you can use your graphing calculator to reduce that if you want. 12 goes into both of those. So that would be 5 on top and 3 on the bottom. Okay, so that reduces to 5/3. And then I want to look at my x's. X to the fifth, x to the second, subtract the exponents. I got more x's on top, 3 of them. And I also have 3 y's on top. Y to the seventh divided by y to the fourth. Again, if there's more y's on the bottom or more x's on the bottom, that would go on the bottom. Okay. This would be 20a to the fifth, b to the eighth, right? Remember adding exponents when as long as they have the same base. And then you want to do 15 times 12. If you need to take out your calculator, feel free, right? Just pop open your calculator. I don't know. Here's one. 15 times 12 is 180. So I have 180. And then a to the first, a to the fifth or a to the fourth. Add those exponents together, you get a to the fifth. b to the third, b to the seventh would be b to the 10th. Okay. Now reduce 20 and 180, that would be 1/9. A to the 5th divided by a to the 5th, those are going to cancel. B to the 8th, b to the 10th, subtract those, I get 2 extra on the bottom, so that would be down here. I don't have anything else on the top, so I'm going to leave that 1 there. This is the reduced form, would be 1 over 9b squared. That's multiplying. But as it said, if it's a binomial or a trinomial, you want to factor everything you can first and then cancel anything you can out. So I'm just going to look at each term. So this first one, 10x minus 40, there's a 10 involved. I'm going to factor that out first. I get this. On the bottom, see, two numbers that multiply to be 8, but add up to be -6. That'll be x minus 4 and x minus 2. Okay. On the top, I got x plus 3. I can't do anything with that. On the bottom, I see a 5 I can pull out. And then the sort of satisfying part here is cancel out anything that you see on the top and the bottom that are like common terms. Okay, so 10 divided by 5 is 2. I don't have anything else on the top. X minus 2 on the bottom. And that's it. See, not so bad. It looks pretty scary, but as you get better with these, I think we have a little extra multiplication sign there. I don't think we need that. Okay, let's try it again. 4 comes out of here. Looks like a 4x comes out of there, so I'm end up with an x minus 4. I want to take a 2 out of this. Okay. We'll factor that a little later. This would be x plus 3, x minus 2, right? Two numbers that multiply to be -6, but add up to be 1. And then I take a 4x out of here, and I get x plus 2. Okay. Now I have this that I need to factor right here, which would be let's see, x plus 3, x minus 1. And then just copy this. And start the canceling out. Let's see. Oh, this should be a 1. Okay, that's a 1. So then these and these cancel out. I see x plus 3, x plus 3, 4x and 4x. Do I have anything else? No. Okay, so I end up with x minus 2 over 2 times x plus 2. Okay. That is multiplying rational expressions. So dividing you actually already know how to do. It is just multiplying by the reciprocal. So you're going to multiply by a reciprocal, remember, is flip the fraction. So you want to rewrite it. And you're going to change it to multiplication. Now these get, the reciprocal of that is just flip those around. So this would be 8q squared 35 p squared q squared. Okay. So There are other ways to do this, but we'll just stick with this. Okay, and then you're going to go, well, 16 times 35. Oh boy, right? So 16 times 35, whoops, is 560. All right. And then I have p to the 5th q squared. Okay, I want to reduce 40 and 560. You might be able to figure that out in your head, right? 40 divided by 560. It's 1/14. Okay. So this 1/14 on the bottom. P divided by p to the 5th. That means subtract those. I should have 4 extras on the bottom. And then q to the 3rd, q squared, subtract, I have 1q left on top. There we go. You just divided. And then we'll get slowly a little bit harder here. I'm going to factor this right off the bat. I won't do it here. I guess we'll switch those first. And this one will come down here. Okay, now we'll do our two numbers I multiplied to be -6, but add up to be 1, it'd be 3 and -2. Okay. Take out 2x out of the bottom. That would be left with x plus 3. So here we go. Cancel, 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 cancel. Wow. I have 10 on top. And then 8x on the bottom. If I reduce that, that'll be that. There's my answer. Okay, one last problem that I'd like to go, and I think then you've got it all. So this one, I will just rewrite it first. Okay, times the reciprocal of this. Oh, wow. It's a big one, huh? Okay, so here we go. Now, we're going to factor everything. All right, this first top left one, we have a 2a squared to take out, which would leave us with a minus 6. The bottom here would be -6, positive 2. Two numbers that multiply to be -12, but add up to be -4. Okay. Uh, 15, so -5 and -3, because I need that to add up to be -8. Take out an 8a squared. I got a minus 3. Okay, let's see. We got a minus 6, a minus 6. That. The a squareds cancel. This would end up being 1/4. So I have 2. Yeah, 2 over 8 is 1/4. So I'm just going to write that. And then I have a minus 5 on top, and then a plus 2 on the bottom. And then I would not need this 1 here, but that would be the factored form of that. So that is how you multiply and divide rational expressions. Hope that made sense. Go ahead and give this assignment a try. Don't forget to write it in your planner. Good luck.